Well, I'm excited to talk about killing your distractions before they kill your dreams. This is something that I have tried to focus on for a really long time. And we're going to dive into not just distractions as what you probably know of distractions as, but the real deep problems that we have that are actually distractions. And this is going to involve like mental capacity. This is going to involve taming dissonance. And then at the end, I'm going to show you some cool tools. And you're going to walk away with some tools to use that you can go home with and start applying right away and basically start to transform your relationship with things, people, and yourself. Okay? So the first thing I want to talk about here is where this world has gone. We have gone so far when it comes to technology and when it comes to like individuals, the type of things that we see out there online and the people that we can connect with, it feels abundant nowadays. It's almost like there's too many choices. And that is kind of a problem. And the paradox of choice is really, really powerful, but it's because of one thing here. It's just too many things to pay attention to. It's too many things to pay attention to. And realize that the day and age that we're in right now, it's all about who gets your attention. And the more attention that they have of yours, the more money they're going to make. Your eyeballs, your focus. Right now, I have your attention. This is cool. But we're always, always, always paying attention to something. There's always one thing on our mind that is the first focus. And that could be a thought of why things aren't going well, or why you're grateful for things, or a certain person that you're being present in, or just whatever it is. There's so many things to pay attention to. And this is your biggest asset. You have to be able to guide your attention as strongly as possible. Because then you are able to take on so much of your life when you have complete focus towards something and also towards the direction you want to go towards. I want to ask you guys, how often are you actually like getting distracted? Let me just like kind of throw this out there. What scale of 1 to 10, percentage out of 100 on a day-to-day basis, maybe a week-to-week basis, kind of like month to month, what is it? 11? And you can also give a little context if this is like within your day or week. 500 times a day? Yeah, especially when you have a girlfriend, right? Or a fiance. It's challenging.
You mean even a small distraction, like now I look back for 10 seconds, or something that is
Yes.
taking me?
Every little thing.
Yes, I can confirm.
It's a lot, isn't it? Like when I'm working and I see something just flicker in the corner of my eye, I look over. All of a sudden my attention is gone from the thing that I'm focused on. And what does that do? So we have distractions every 3 minutes, basically. Nearly every 3 minutes we have distractions. And that is, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a good thing. And what it does, let me show you. I've done so much research recently. So after every single distraction, it's going to take you approximately 23 minutes to regain focus and to come back to your full attention on this one task. And so if you're on your task of work and you're working and then someone comes up to you and talks to you, you were in the flow, you were in your zone, and then all of a sudden someone comes talks to you, or some notification on your phone, or some thought that comes into your head. Now it's harder for you to get back into that flow again. And it makes it really hard to like be like, okay, I had some really good thoughts. You guys ever had those like ideas that come into your head and then they just like leave all of a sudden? Like, I wanted to do this, or like, that was such a good idea. And then it just like leaves. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it does come back for me as well. I think there's a trick to this where it's about presence. And that's really what I would like to talk about a little bit later. So I also agree about that. Yeah. But it's so challenging when we have so many different things to pay attention to. And that's 5% of your workday, just one distraction. To regain that focus, to go back, that's a lot of distractions. And of course, there's a little bit of focus and a little bit of focus here and there, and it kind of it shrinks up to be a little bit of time where your actually attention is full on everything. And so my question is, why is this even going on? And maybe I can ask you guys, why do you think there's so many distractions in our world? The thing is, there's these people that are bigger than us that want us to prioritize their things, right? The global advertising market just surpassed 1 trillion for the first time. That means $1 trillion. Do you realize how big of a budget that is? Like how much money that actually is? Just to have your attention. Again, what I just talked about earlier, attention is currency, right? So that means that everyone that's trying to take your attention is trying to make money off of your attention, your focus. Because the more times you see something, the more often you pay attention to something, the more you're going to want to do that thing or be wanting to know more about it or to be curious. And when you're curious, they can tie you in with different other emotions as soon as you get distracted. And this is ongoing and going. So what's super crazy though is the technology and the budget keeps getting bigger. But at the same time, we're also moving along with this. Like we're slowly improving as humans to be able to learn more and know more, have these kinds of workshops and understand more about human behavior, but we're behind. We're behind as individuals, we're behind as a society, and there's these big people that are taking up all the attention. And so it's being bought all the time. This is a $1 trillion industry trying to get your attention every single moment. And so the more attention that you give them, the more spending that they can have, and then the more optimized content they're going to be able to give you exactly that will lead you to more attention. Because now TikTok and all these social medias, they're watching every single second you're on their platform, and they know exactly what you do, what you click, how long you watch something for. And it makes it super easy for them to create an algorithm or a formula for you just to be so hardwired and to be engaged in this for however long until you know how to break the pattern. What do you guys think is actually like the biggest distraction though, that really is like the biggest threat to your goals? Out of all the things that we could think of as distractions, what do you think it is? Huh? Social media, phone? Okay, you're right. It's one of the biggest technological advancements that we've ever had in human history, in very good ways, but also in really bad ways. And this is why this is talking about your phone is a tool. So we have to use it like one. And are you going to be the person who gives attention away? Or are you going to be the one who creates the attention for your stuff? Because people want to know about you. Like we can dive into like all the branding about this and what we have in this world as an opportunity. But we just saw that this market is over $1 trillion. Like there's nothing we can do to break it. So we either have to play the game or just go off and live in a cave somewhere. Because I'll find myself sometimes just scrolling around my phone, looking for something to do, swiping between left and right, up and down, trying to just look for different apps. I've done that before so many times. And now I made it so minimalistic for me to not use it for whatever other reason that it is for the tool, the purpose that I have it for. These are average. You could be less, you could be more. Right? You guys ever heard of this term here, phantom vibrations? No? So phantom vibrations, this is basically when you were to have your phone in your pocket a bunch, and all of a sudden you feel a vibration. You pick up your phone, no notifications. 89% of people that actually experience that. And I've actually experienced that as well. That's why I try to not keep my phone in my pocket anymore. And when it was, I was feeling it all the time. I was like, what the heck? And because there's dopamine. And we're going to talk about this and what that actually means. And this one is so fascinating to me. TikTok can detect boredom in 5 seconds. What I just said about that algorithm on where they're being able to control and like understand how much you're watching, it's going to shrink with how much more they're going to be spending and how much more they're going to be learning about you. So be careful. And we have to use it to our advantage. This is actually just the tip of the iceberg. The phone is just the top. And of course, there's other people, there is environments like construction, there's babies crying, all sorts of things that could be a distraction. But you can control these distractions. I want to let you know that you can be a master of your mind. You can be the captain of your ship. And so if you don't, it's just going to steal your clarity, your presence, and yourself. But you can, and I want to share that with you. I want to show you how to do that. So what we're going to talk about today is mental bandwidth, and then we're going to talk about taming dissonance. This is where all the tools I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to give you this best tool that I've created recently, which is called Pattern Break. And I'm going to share that with you guys. So let's dive into the mental side of why and like psychology of how we can start to understand this a little bit more. When we look at all sorts of human behavior, we have to recognize that all of human behavior comes from two different chemicals, two different characteristics, pain and pleasure. And we're going to dive into this a lot deeper. But when we look at this, a lot of people in our world nowadays, and even me, myself included, we've been conditioned to believe that all pain or all discomfort is bad. And so we basically have to remove this discomfort. And how do we remove it? The easiest way, which is distracting ourselves from doing something. So if you're working, right, and all of a sudden it's getting uncomfortable, you feel some sort of sensations, you feel a little bit of tightness in your chest, in your shoulders, in your eyes. It's easier just to go off and look at your phone because that thing is the dopamine. That thing is giving you some sort of pleasure. And it removes that pain already by giving you a new sense of pleasure. Or when someone's talking to you and they're distracting you, it's an easier way to get out of your focus. And we have to be able to understand distractions when it comes to the level of discomfort and pain. When we understand this, we can also recognize there is this phenomenon called shiny object syndrome. Who here has heard of that? Raise of hands, 2 people. Okay, so I'm basically going to show this. So you have this person here who's looking at the wonderful things that they can achieve in life, the things that they want to do, the things that they want to go towards, the wonderful feelings, basically. And if we were to look at this in what we can call the emotional cycle of change, there is this point here where I just showed you that picture of that person who's like shiny eyes, sparkly eyes, like all lovey-dovey and excited. And when they get to this point, this is basically the beginning. This is the beginning of a new change in your life. Whenever there's something new, you have what we call uninformed optimism. And that means you know everything about what good is going to come from it. You know all the upside, you know how beautiful it's going to be, you see the dream, and it feels so nice to see that possibility. And then there comes a time, this is time, right? So we come to a different time where we get to a place called informed pessimism. Now we know a little bit more about what it is that we're dealing with. And there's more challenges, there's more discomfort, and they're like, okay, this is maybe going to take a little bit longer to do. There's like, I have to talk to this person. So yeah, this is basically what I was talking about, where most people quit here, but then if you'll go in a loop. This is shiny object syndrome. And this is because of the discomfort. So it's learning to get out of avoidance. And when you're down here, when things are discomfort or uncomfortable, then it's easier just to go to the next thing. And it gets to be an avoidant tendency. And this is just what we're naturally doing as human behavior because we want to move away from pain and we want to go towards pleasure. Very, very obvious, right? But when you look at your actual behaviors, it's so interesting when you look behind the science and the neurochemicals that go on. And this is what's so fascinating is that we're working harder and harder and harder to not be miserable, to not be uncomfortable, and to be as perfectly feeling as possible. Like, have you guys noticed how many healing workshops there are now? Like here in Da Nang? Have you noticed that? And it's because people are running away from their pain. We have to go towards it. Have to go towards it. Like, there's no success that comes from running away from your pain. And the more that you can actually go towards it and move with it and like sit with it, the more you'll be able to be successful. And I find that a lot of the times there's these methods like the sound healings and these other like trauma healing things. Those are beautiful. I have nothing against them. But I think people use that as an excuse to just kind of get to the next level. Even these meditations, like I was stuck in like a 2-hour routine for the longest time because I was trying to feel good before I took action. And that doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And so really what it comes down to, if everything is getting better and better with technology, it's getting better and better and better and more easy to have Grabs come to our house, have dishwashers, accessibility is so simple. It just is something that makes me curious of like, if everything that we're having is actually so easy, what if that ease is actually creating more exhaustion? And that's basically comfort. We're getting to be very, very comfortable. And this is a dangerous thing. As humans and as technology develops, as AI gets smarter, your critical thinking levels are starting to go down and depending on other things outside of you to actually make a difference. And then it doesn't come from you. It doesn't take steps forward to be what you are doing. When we look at this, it comes from boredom. I think that I haven't experienced boredom in a really long time. Who here has been bored in the last week? Yeah, like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, Mom, I'm bored. Dad, I'm bored. Yeah, because when I've thought about this, I give myself a lot of time to just sit and not do anything purposefully. So that way I give myself that space to be bored. Like when I order food, I just sit there and don't look at my phone. I just look out on the street, basically. And I don't give myself any kind of distraction. Right after I ordered the food, I went on the menu and I just, I ordered something. I'm sitting there and I'm trying to be bored because I'm about to dive into something super pleasurable. And then the second I go on to the next pleasurable thing, which is my phone right next to me, it's then like multitasking pleasure. And then this is increasing noradopamine. And then it makes it harder to do the things that we don't want to do. But this is where creativity comes from, is boredom. It's fascinating because your ideas come best in the shower or when you're on your run or when you're just walking or when you're doing nothing and you don't have to think. It's just coming so naturally. Boredom is a superpower. It's a superpower that I'd encourage more often. And I want to start to do this myself, and I haven't been doing this. I haven't been practicing this, but I wanted to do like 30 minutes every day where I just sit and do nothing. And I'm actually going to talk about that in a little bit. Do you know where you get distracted? Yeah, anywhere. Maybe it is your phone, but like, do you know more specifically about like the time when it happens? Do you know the time of the day or like the energy level that you're in before you get into that distraction? Do you know what emotion you're feeling before you get into that distraction? Yeah, this is like really, really important. And I'm going to give you a tool to be more understanding of yourself, to help you be even more aware of your distractions. Like when I was talking about what time they happen, what energy state they're happening before you actually take on that distraction. And that's called the 55-5 rule. This is just a really, really just common concept with so many people. And distraction is not just about phones or not being able to be focused about a certain task or getting people come into your life and just kind of talking to you too much. It's just the nervous system overload is like the biggest factor. This one right here. And this has to do with just your body and somatic practices that you have to be aware of. You have to be very, very aware of it. So this is basically what I do as a coach. This is how I can help people because I really love these tools and how I can help you guys if you wanted to work together, where I can show you the path to understanding your distractions, to understanding the way that you can actually move with your emotions, with your body, to start getting more done and to start taking on more for yourself. So this is where we're going to talk about all the tools to actually reclaim your mind from the pull of all these different things that come into your life, okay? Now let's look at pain and pleasure, okay? Now, Cortisol, that's what pain is. That's basically where a lot of discomfort comes from. Then there's dopamine, that's the pleasure. It's the pleasure chemical, okay? When you are experiencing a lot of pleasure, your dopamine increases. When you experience a lot of pain, your cortisol also increases, but it goes down in terms of like an equilibrium. That's why there's this seesaw here. These are very important. You have to be very aware of what this is, okay? This is a balance beam, a seesaw as we call it. So all these things of dopamine, where you are eating, you are watching a lot of YouTube videos, you're going shopping, social media, cocaine, gambling, gaming, chocolate, or any kind of food even. Technically, everything that we are doing, the reason we do it is because of dopamine. It's the motivation chemical. It's why we do things. But there's also this element of dopamine where it is the anticipation of the receiving of dopamine that gets you to be motivated. That's why it's a factor. And then cortisol is all of this low energy, irritability, mood swings, you're restless, you're bored. It's not a good feeling. Stress, whatever it is. And basically, what we have to know, what is so important, is every single time you experience pleasure, you experience a lot of pleasure, this is going to come down. That means you're going to experience pain after you experience pleasure. So I'll give you an example. For whenever you go on a trip, maybe like it's a week-long trip, and it's a super exciting trip, it's very exhilarating, you did so many cool things, and it was so adventurous. And then you come home, and you're so tired. This is because it was so pleasurable, the dopamine that was in your brain that shot up, and then after you came back home, the cortisol came in, the pain and stress, and the feelings of imbalance came. These always want to stay at a certain equilibrium. And so when this keeps going up and up and up and up, your tolerance then becomes here. Your dopamine levels need to stay here. And this is what your body is used to. And so then your cortisol wants to also come back up here as well. And that's why it feels so uncomfortable. But then you're not experiencing this kind of pleasure anymore. So now you're getting like this amount of dopamine, and now there's all this pain. And it's a balance beam. Every single time, it wants to stay in the middle. That's the goal, to restore the equilibrium, the equal balance of feelings. When there comes up a feeling, there's going to be a feeling that comes down. Very, very key. And it's so powerful if you really dive into this for your own behavior. You will learn so much, and you can take on so much. This is huge. So I want to give you all these tools, guys. I promised you these tools. These are the tools that you can take on. I'm not going to go through all of them because we don't have enough time, but these are literally like nearly all the tools that I would use to help get through distractions, to help be more of a master of your mind. You can take a photo of this because I'm not going to go through all of them. 55-5 rule is what we're about to dive into. And then there's this technique that has to do with self-binding. And self-binding is actually a huge factor. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And all these other ones, we're going to go through trigger tracking and boundary setting. These two ones, the habit stacking and the energy hacking, is something that I'll do with you if you want to have a conversation with me. But first thing that wasn't mentioned on here is a dopamine detox. Who has heard of a dopamine detox? Yes? Do you know that there's different levels of doing a dopamine detox, right? This is basically, the first level is what I was talking about earlier, where you take 30 to 60 minutes every single day and don't do anything. No high stimulation. I went to the beach before when I was doing this, and I was just sitting there standing, just like watching people. One factor that I gave to this was I also didn't have any conversations with anyone. I didn't even want to engage and look at people in the eyes. They teach this in Vipassana because that's still a factor of stimulation. And so I want to remove as much stimulation as possible. So level 2 is 1 day per week. You do 24 hours of no tech, no music, no coffee, caffeine, any type of high adrenaline, high stimuli, even everything, maybe not talking to anyone either, if you really wanted to go to a different kind of like level 2A. Level 3, 1 weekend of no stimuli, to be in solitude and silence. Or there's this practice in the Jewish tradition called Yom Kippur, and they do this every single year, once a year, where they dry fast. So they have no water and no food for the entire day, 24 hours. And then they also abstain from all worldly pleasures. That means any AC, electricity, flushing the toilet, ripping stuff. There's no form of labor at all. And this is to remove all sorts of stimuli. You can't even read. It's basically the craziest kind of tool that you would want to do if you wanted to really just go all out and just do nothing. This is literally nothing, and you are going to be very bored. And that's so helpful. Level 4 is a 10-day Vipassana course or a dark room retreat. Who knows what that is? A dark room retreat. So what does that mean? You take a few days and you sit in absolute darkness, pitch black darkness. And you only can do this with another person because they have to give you your food and you have to eat in the dark. Trying to, where's my face? Where is this food? And that is level 4. It's intense. I've never done it, but I've always wanted to.
How long is it?
It can be 2 days, it can be 3 days, it could be a week. And there's places around the world that do it. You can even set it up in your room and just find like black tape and try it. If you really wanted. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you go to prison too, you'll definitely solitary confinement. Yeah. Huh? What happens? What? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it would take you 10 minutes to try to find the toilet, right? But this is so important. Like, I recently experienced this with my girlfriend. She was here for like 3 months. And so my dopamine levels were really high. And after all that time she was here, my dopamine levels were extremely high. And I had a tolerance of wanting to have so much pleasure and enjoyment and novelty. And then when she's gone, all of a sudden, like, my body's like, where's that dopamine? Where's that pleasure? And so it's going to counterbalance and give me all this cortisol back to rebalance it. And then it's going to basically say, oh, you deserve all this pain. And so I was fine for like a few days, but then all of a sudden, like 5 days after, all of a sudden I became so unmotivated. I was like, what the heck? I don't want to do anything. It's crazy. Like, this is not because of I miss her maybe the little bit, but also it's because of your body. The body is the biggest factor about this, and you have to understand the neurochemicals that go on. This is the 55-5 rule. Very, very powerful tool. And when you can do this to a level of you're tracking your time, you're tracking your energy, you're tracking your triggers as well, which I'll actually show you. If you could do this in combination with the trigger tracking, you'll have a lot of powerful things. So this one, you basically take like 55 minutes, and then after those 55 minutes, you did whatever. The last 5 minutes, you write down what you just did for those last 55 minutes. And then after a week or so, or maybe a month, if you want to do it for that long, you'll then be able to identify different kinds of tasks, and you can go over and highlight them and look at, okay, where am I scrolling on my phone? Where am I getting distracted? Where is people coming up to me? What time is this usually at? Right? So you go through the day and you can just write down like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way to 9 p.m. And then you can start to tally it out and say, okay, this is what happened during this hour. This was my energy levels during this hour. And then this is what basically happened. And I did this or this or this. It's very, very helpful. Very helpful. And if you do this, wow, you'll find so much about you. And especially what times are great for your best productivity, your flow state. It's not just for understanding distractions. It's for so much more than that. Tech and people boundaries, okay? So go through all of your followers on Instagram and anyone that doesn't serve you, that doesn't help you go towards your goals, and unfollow them. All the people that distract you. I did this when I was younger because I was following so many models, and I was so distracted by all these models, and that I needed to remove them from my Instagram feed. And it helps. It helps a lot. Next one, remove all your notifications. Go onto your settings and take out all the notifications from every single app that bothers you. Next one, overbearing people. There's going to be people that come into your life, maybe a girlfriend like Ondra has his girlfriend, and you got to tell her to go away, respectfully. I know Ondra wants to get his stuff done, right? So this is about getting better at communication skills, of course, but then also telling them respectfully, like, babe, I need to work. Can you please go away? And not talk about what Donald Trump did. Make your phone boring. Remember what I just showed you in that first slide of how boring my phone was? I deleted all the apps. So if you have an iPhone, you can actually remove a lot of the apps, but it's not deleting them. It's deleting them from your home screen. And so you can change your home screen and look however you want it to look. Makes it so easy to not be distracted anymore. And now you have a reason to get on these apps because it's not there where you would know habitually memorizing it where it is. So you have to, okay, what do I want to do? Okay, now I'm going to go and search for the app. There's a search toggle, and then you can go and start to make your time more intentional. This one, tracking your triggers. So whenever there's doubt, whenever there's fear, whenever there's disappointment, whenever there's frustration, whenever there's overwhelm, any sort of feeling, I want you to create this kind of graph. This is a trigger graph. So what this means, the type of trigger. This is like a sensory, like if it's an emotional type of trigger, a people type of trigger, a time of the day type of trigger. This trigger here, this is the emotion that you feel. So you would put like the frustration, disappointment, doubt, misunderstanding, or like anger, whatever it is. And then you talk about how did it happen? Just how did it get to that place? How did that trigger actually come about? What was the situation? And you go and start to track these because triggers, whenever you understand them, you become more free. Especially when you can work with them and actually be more understanding of them, you can be again aware of them. And as soon as you are aware, you can start to break the pattern. So, really, really helpful as well. Be just intentional. That's like the key point here. And it's of course so hard, again, with what we have in our life with trillion-dollar industry of marketing and people wanting to create high-tech kind of equipment to distract us and pull our attention in all these different ways. You always have a decision though. There's always a decision. You don't have to be an autopilot. You can use the tools that I shared with you to be able to manage what you have in your life and to give yourself a true decision. Do I want to be actually doing this? And understand in this moment, is it pain or is it pleasure that I'm trying to remove or go towards? Most of the time, it's you don't want to experience the pain, and you also don't and you want to experience the pleasure of doing the same thing, of not doing the hard task. And so both of them are on the same side of not doing this task. And that's what makes it challenging. But until you can recognize that and rewire yourself and be like, okay, I'm going to do something different, then it becomes easier and easier and easier. Yeah, I gave you a lot of stuff here today. I really just showed you a lot. And I don't want you to be so overwhelmed with this because this is a big, big thing to deal with. When it comes to your mind, when it comes to your environment, when it comes to talking to people, there's so many different elements that you can start with. But I would recommend to just start with one thing because you will burn out and you'll get back into autopilot very quickly. Again, it's so hard because there's attention pulling you in all these different directions. So start with one thing that I shared with you, or you can start with this. It's called Pattern Break. This is the tool that I created. And I wanted to take some time to share with you this magnificent tool that is unfortunately only for iPhone, but it's really, really powerful. So I'll show you a quick video of how this works. So you would normally open Instagram just like this, as you would on a regular day-to-day basis. You can get lost right away in scrolling, even if you're a content creator. very, very easily. It's lagging a lot, I can see. But now if you have pattern break, this is what your screen starts to look like. Doesn't that look weird? You basically are seeing some different version of like an alien. And then after you close the app, it resets. This is basically you having to have an intention. You must have a reason to why to open this. You can create content, you can connect with someone, you can just watch it as well. But then you have to set a time for how much you're going to use. And so now it gives you 10 minutes, and then you can go into doing whatever you want to do as the original version. And then as soon as you finish, it will flicker back and forth between the two colors, and you'll be able to break your pattern before you get caught scrolling again. Simple as that. Is that cool? This is basically, again, how it works. So this is how your feed will look like. Weird colors, and this is really, really helpful because this doesn't look appealing. Again, when we have all these like the high-tech technology, they're trying to enhance the colors. They're trying to make the things more unique and more crazy looking. Like what is this face? It's not a irregular face. You want to look at this face, right? For some reason. Your brain just says, oh, I want to look at this face. It looks weird. It doesn't look like human face. So you have to have the reason why you're opening this. And so you can create content or just share something that you created online and then post it on your stories. You can also connect with people. So for example, we're here and I want to say hi to you. I can press this button and now you can go and put your Instagram into my phone without it looking like this. And you'll be able to like, okay, where am I? Why can't I find myself? So it only gives you 5 minutes. And then if you're watching, or like say if you're doing YouTube, it gives you like 20 minutes or an hour of being able to watch that content. If you don't know how much you're going to need, you can of course do a toggle where it's like, I don't know how much time I need. So it'll give you a certain setting to let you find that piece of content. And then after that, it'll ask you, okay, how much time do you need after like 5 minutes? And then come back to the original of what you can use to watch it normally. But yeah, it's very important to time yourself and to be very aware of how much time you're using. And yeah, this is basically creating a fake version of it. So that's what I've done. I've created a fake version of Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube. And we'll be able to do it to more and more apps in the future, like maybe WhatsApp or Messenger, these other things that people can get distracted in as well. But this is my screen time. I don't know what your screen time has looked like. My screen time has been really worse before. This is just on my phone. And I think you can do a toggle on your phone where it's like showing your computer and the phone at the same time. And it's like 15 hours for me sometimes. 16 hours, 18 hours. It's crazy. But I also am a content creator. But that time wasn't focused at all. And I want to be more focused. I want to create stuff. So this is just what your life can look like when you don't have brain fog, when you have a lot more time to save, and you're actually doing 3 times more amount of work in the tasks that you're doing. Your priorities are actually getting done, and you're actually being active and present in your conversations. And you don't need the phone on the table. You don't need to look at your phone all the time. This is a way for you to truly start to take your life back. And I have helped with the pattern break, but then also now it's up to you to take on the next step, which is just facing yourself. This is the mental game. After you've done all this stuff, when it comes to the tools, it now becomes a mental game. And if you want, we can work together. I can work with you and I can support you on that.